Welcome to Vlog Thursday 302. Hopefully the audio sounds good. I was wearing this shirt, my friend Jeff, and because I was like, it's time. It is time for an evening beer. I usually don't start a vlog like this, but it's been a busy day, and so it seems like a good way to start it. So let me see who I here. Oh, yes, this was from earlier. The one chip challenge. It was bad. I don't recommend it. We decided that we were on an event, me and Jason Slagle, and I don't know how this came. I am somewhat to blame because of a while ago people learning that I like spice. Therefore, the spicy chip challenges came in and spicy this, and now it's a thing that we do is the spicy thing, and of course you can only go up. And I don't know that we went up. This feels like a bad thing. It tastes like cardboard lava. That was the best description, not by me, but I certainly agree with that assessment of it. Took me a minute to start the vlog because I'm in my kitchen and living room. It's kind of like open. And for some reason, and me and Jay from Learn Linux TV were just talking about this, Sony's cameras are goofy. And when they decide they have changed a setting, such as eye tracking, which seems to be on, but when the lights were a little brighter behind me, I had to dim them because it kept focusing on the back wall, not me. It just kind of was a weird problem. So that's the thing. But nonetheless, one chip challenge, I don't really recommend it. I don't recommend spilling your beer. Only dripped just a little bit. But all right. So what else we hear? Good evening, greetings and salutations. Hello from New York City. Good night, I'll watch and record. Very curious, something is 3200 memory clock. You asked me that question and I replied to you. No, it doesn't clock at 3200. I don't know why. I don't have time. It's not stable at 3200 and sometimes doesn't post. Yeah. Beer 30. Ooh, what beer do we have? That's a good question here. This is my friend Jason Slagle picked that. Will it focus on it? Focus. Voodoo Ranger Juice Force IPA. Actually, I wouldn't have chose this beer. And when I was out and about with my friend Jason, this beer was one that he had chose for an event we were on our way to. And I ended up taking some of them home. I like it. It's not bad. I'm not a big like fruity or juice person when it comes to beers. I generally like the bitter IPAs, but this is surprisingly good. So I like it. So I didn't go, ooh, I said, oh, this is not bad. You can't show your beer, but not tell us what you're drinking. Yeah. Yes. Oh, is that an OLED in the back? No, that's not an OLED TV. I don't know if that's a 70. I think that's a 70-inch TV, but it's not. I know it's not an OLED. I've had it for. I think I bought it in 2019. I don't remember. I've had it for a little while, not too long, but a little while. Voodoo Ranger is definitely a lot of alcohol content. There is no doubt about that. So yes. Still have plasmas. Oh, yeah. I do not have plasma. So that's, I have retired those TVs. And I'm a big, how cheap can I get it? Can I get it on sale type of person? So that's a part that matters. Hey, Brett.
Hey.
Here, clip that on you if you're going to.
I decided to come crash here today.
Yeah.
Maybe my wife will let me come home later.
This makes me laugh. Now, here's a question, because this argument comes up a lot. Is that TV too high?
No.
I don't know why people think it is. That part confuses me, because I should get a tape measure, because now that's going to be a debate. Is my TV too high?
Well, what I think people see behind you is the way the roof comes down, because it's vaulted in the middle and then comes down. So what it looks like is the room's bigger, and the TV's too high. But if you stand next to it, that's not too high at all.
Right. So is my TV too high? This can be our debate for the day.
No, it's not.
I think it looks fine. Like it's a good viewing angle.
It's perfect.
I think it. So no one complains who's over here. So and we have a lot of people over sometimes to watch things. And
I'm taller though. That's the problem.
Oh,
too.
Brett's taller. So yeah, that's a thing. So is that too? And what is the measurement for too high? It's an opinion on the internet, but there has to be a metric. I mean, this is something we can measure and quantify.
Right.
Is it too high?
Because I think you've got it centered almost in the. I mean, we got a little higher than but you have it centered between the roof line and the stand.
Oh, that's right. Travis, you can be the judge of this. So
Travis, hey Travis, how you doing, buddy?
Yep. So is it too high while sitting? Eye level while sitting. That seems too low. Eye level while sitting?
No.
I don't want to be looking. I mean, it doesn't take much to get my gaze up a little. It's not when I'm sitting down on the couch. I'm not straight. I'm a little up, but that doesn't bother me. I guess maybe, center of screen should be eye level of sitting. I don't know about that. That would put that TV low. That would be weirdly low.
You have a low couch, though.
I have a low couch, but I have grandkids. For those of you that don't know, it's out of reach of grandkids. And by the time they're tall enough to reach it,
they won't want it.
They don't care. But if I put it that low, because it's a 70-inch TV, then it would be in reach of grandkids.
It would not be good at all.
That wouldn't be bad. That would be bad.
And for those that have kids that are young, you know what Tom's talking about.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's another good point there. If I gave you a different angle of the house, like if you were facing this way, you would be in my kitchen standing there. This is a kitchen counter. So facing this way, if you're standing at the kitchen, you're actually probably a little higher than half. When I'm standing up, hey, let's actually walk back there one at a time. So if I'm standing up,
me too.
No, well, what you? But eye level standing up is right here. Like this is my eye level is at the 3/4 mark of the TV. So sitting puts me a little below.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that.
I have a problem with the flowers being there.
Did you buy those flowers?
Of course not. I just don't like flowers and vases and stuff by my stereo system.
Well, that's water.
I know.
Water damage.
I did just post center screen. It looks fine.
If it's on a tilt mount, what did you?
It's on a tilt mount, which is your head is always tilted upward or sitting. Oh, it is tilted. The TV is angled this way. Like it's that's hard to see. And thank you, Grayson. Yes, if the cloud's not for everyone, then IoT is not for everyone either. It's the cloud is for some people. It's just not for all the people. It's we'll bring it up in a discussion here. Well, here's a whole most movie theaters build a vertical stand. Most audiences are in line with a viewing screen. Movie theaters are definitely not eye level.
No, because they're all the seats are either at a pitch or they're never straight on.
Yeah.
I think this is a debate that'll go to the end.
I suppose if you wanted to be finicky, you could raise your couch so your TV. I could get a higher couch.
Actually, I like that answer.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. The cloud sucks when the internet goes out. Yeah.
Gosh, isn't that the truth, though?
Yeah. If your data is cherished, the cloud should be for you. That's a big debate. On the cloud topic, and I need to probably put together a video on this topic because me and Jason Slagle were discussing this. And Brett will tell you, based on what we do at Lawrence Systems, when we talk about selling petabytes of storage, that's not going in a cloud. That's someone's data center, which you can argue is a private cloud, depending on the scale and scope of the company. At what point do you call the data center a cloud? Is it when you own it? Is when you own it, it's always a data center? We should probably, I should probably break down all the rules of how you discuss that.
I think a petabyte of storage could be considered the cloud with what we built on that.
Yeah.
I do.
Well, but it's for that company to use.
It's their personal cloud.
It's their personal cloud, or really, it's just a data center at that point. So there's, what's the difference? If you own the data center, you don't rent it out to anybody else. Is it really called a cloud? It's just called your data center because it's exclusive to their company. It's not used externally in, any way. So, that's. But not all companies run things. There's a couple automotive companies, some larger ones that are pulling back from the cloud. And this is something we deal with a lot is basically companies, if you want to scale fast, the cloud's great because you don't have to plan and buy servers. Your capital expenditure is low, and big capital expenditures to build a data center are hard when you're a startup. So you build things out in your cloud infrastructure.
Right.
And if you want your growth, or your growth is unknown, you're hoping to hyperscale, you can't afford to build out the infrastructure, because what if you land that next 10,000 endpoint deal? Well, do you have the time to build out the servers to do it? Or is it better to keep an elastic system in the cloud where you can just keep buying more cloud? But once you kind of stabilize in the market and you go, all right, I've hit my growth potential, I'm growing at a little bit steadier of a rate or a more predictable rate, and I can predict my workload, well, maybe at some point you start investing in data centers. And this is even, you look at something like Facebook. Facebook built their own data centers, but not at first. And it's something they do once they hit a steady growth. And this is where people think it's just static. And this is where a lot of companies, it makes sense if you're a startup. And you can take HostiFi as an example. They're at a fast run rate still, so the cloud makes sense to them. But is there a point in time when Riley looks at his cloud bill, and it's one of the most expensive things he has to run HostiFi is the cloud bill, he may go, you know what? My growth rate has kind of tapered and it's steady. I could swap this for 2 colos, because of the size and scale he operates, the number of endpoints. He could probably build out a couple small racks and 2 different colos for redundancy and save a substantial amount of money. I mean, there's a cost you have to associate with
but
this.
Over the long run.
Over the long run, yeah.
Absolutely.
It's more of a business decision than people realize. It's how you look at things and how you put them on there. I thought about maybe I'll do some videos and talk to that. I'd like to get Patrick from Serve the Home. He's got a whole great thing of how he saves $26,000 a year hosting himself because he was spending $26,000 more or $50,000 more now, because it's $26,000 a couple of years ago, and as he's grown by pulling it out of the cloud and running everything locally.
Right. So, and I wonder what his ROI was on that. When did he see that?
Yeah, and he has a whole breakdown of that. He's got an article from like 2017. That's when he did it. So, which means he's got more cost savings today. Yeah, cloud is just somebody else's computer. Cloud is just vapor and does not support infrastructure nor data.
Well, we do have a few clients that don't want anything on the cloud. I mean, they have proprietary information, diagrams, drawings, things like that, and they don't want it transferring over anything on the Ethernet. Did I say Ethernet?
Internet.
I mean,
it's all on Ethernet.
It's all on Ethernet, though. But they don't want that. So what do you do with that?
Yeah. Anyways, one more question here. I want to make sure it was this. Oh, okay. I was just that message.
Oh,
all right. I was employees. Okay. I didn't know why they called me, and I was like, I was on the phone when they called. They were replying. I was really sure it wasn't anything important.
Right.
It's not. So you're thinking of getting a net gig appliance, not sure what speed a VPN with a gig internet speed. They have all the speeds listed at Netgate with all the VPN speeds. Go check out their site. They have them all listed. So, I mean, I recommend a lot of times like the 4100 is a solid device. I did a review on it. I recommend it. If that may not be fast enough or doesn't have enough ports, go for the 6100. So they're definitely, they have it all broke down with all the VPN speeds. Makes it easy. Tom, did you ever live in an apartment in your younger years? If so, did you have a home lab at the time? Just curious. No, I actually, I bought my house when I was like 19. But there weren't really home labs then because I'm in my 40s. So you didn't really have, I mean, I had stuff, but it wasn't.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I mean, you didn't.
Sorry, that just cracks me up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I think I have a picture of it somewhere.
I had a conversation with a client today about our age, and we remember the internet as DOS.
Yeah. The early days of things. I wonder if I have, hold on. I'll have to look. There is somewhere I have a picture. I've shared it before. It's one of my really old photos of computers, if I can find it. Man. Maybe not. I don't know. I'd have to dig around. I have a picture that I've posted on Twitter before, basically, and I have too many pictures, so it's not easy to find. But it's a photo of when I had one of my really, really old servers that I used to run, that used to run Linux and everything else, and it was from the nine. Yeah. It's from, well, I think it was probably the pictures from, I think, 2001 or 2002. So I did have, because it was when we first got cable internet. Was in 99 or 2000, right around then. So yeah, it's been 20 years ago. So no, but oddly, I've never lived, well, I briefly lived in an apartment when I was between houses during a divorce. That's as close as I came to living in an apartment. I've always had houses. Cost of running your own cloud power makes the decision cloudy. Yes.
Depends where you're at in the country. I mean, if you're in California, power is not cheap.
Should I run bad blocks? I mean, it all depends. The idea of ZFS is going to be fault tolerant. So it's up to you if you want to exercise those drives before. It's kind of a up to you thing. It's not necessary because the redundancy, if you're running a Z2, you can survive a drive going bad, but it doesn't hurt. It all depends on where's your risk tolerance. Generally speaking, does Tom do that? No, I ain't got time for that. I just start loading data on it. And any data I have is always duplicated in more, or in some cases is quadruplicated. So didn't realize the concept of home labs was so recent. We never called it. We did not use the term home lab. It was Tom had a server in his house to play games, and that was what I was doing 20 something years ago.
I don't think I heard the term home labs till you said it.
Yeah, it's. I would say it's been home lab has been popularized much more recently. Cisco has a tool for iMix traffic. It's called Cisco. It's an open source tool. Traffic generator. What is that called? There's a name of it. Someone, T-Rex. There we go. So I'll drop this on here. Actually, I can share the screen. Present, share screen, Chrome tab, share. There we go. And I'll throw it in here. Camera's out of focus, so you guys are blurred. Yeah, the camera has decided sometimes it doesn't want to focus. I
think it's because I'm offset.
Oh no, it was doing this before. It keeps focusing on the wall behind me. I have no idea why. It doesn't like me. It likes the wall. I haven't really got an answer. I turned the lights down in the back, and it helped. I could probably turn them off, and maybe it will focus on us now.
It might.
Because yeah, I don't. It's a weird problem. Anyways, this is a tool called T-Rex. That's what this is. This is what it can do, is generate it. T-Rex, low cost, high speeds, stateful traffic generator. So it'll generate some of the iMix traffic. So that's the, I mean, there may be another tool out there, but at least that one's one I'm aware of that's free and open source. I was telling somebody about Y2K and just felt old. Yes, I did Y2K certification. Is it? It's still.
It's not bad.
It's not as bad as it was. See if that helps. He's focusing on you. I'll just scoot back some.
No, shoot.
Well, if I scoot back and sit level with you,
it's got to be the Lawrence colors.
Yeah, it likes your shirt better than me, so I'll just scoot back and then I'm in focus too. Because I can move my laptop. I got a pretty long cord on it.
Right.
There we go. Yes, Y2K certification. Yes, I did that. The home lab term is a new idea. Use equipment in home isn't true. Remember FreeNet? Yep, FidoNet. Oh yeah. The reason I have multiple networks set up is because I have operate OpenSense, a virtual router. I don't know how to add multiple networks in XCP&G since I have multiple NICs on my server. I have videos on networking in XCP&G, but you can definitely add multiple networks. T-Rex talks about being open source, but I haven't seen utilized by normal people. It's just because it's open source doesn't mean it's easy to use. So it does have some setup to it. It's not just run it and click and go. Maybe someone will make something that does. Any tips to lower the power? Oh, I'll retire the R710. It's just not efficient. Yes. If you'd like to lower the power in your R710, can I interest you in an R720 or an R730? Each generation of servers, this same question was coming up with the 2900 series, which is the previous series besides 710. Those things were just like blow dryers of heat running out. Like they wasted so much in heat, they just weren't as energy efficient. So turn the light off, fixed. We're in focus.
It is, yeah, totally.
Magic.
Lighting.
Yeah. Punching down too close to the firewall switch. Yeah.
That could cause problems.
Dutch orange. I don't know what that means. It's really close to the orange on this beer.
Look at that.
Yeah. This beer is company colors.
I just realized you're drinking beer and I'm not.
Do you want one?
No.
There's beers in there.
All right.
These are down in the basement, but those are just regular beers in there. Other side's all the beer. Do you like lights? Have one.
Yeah.
There you go. I can both have a beer.
I need light because I'm on a diet.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they're good. They're like, actually, I kind of like them. They're refreshing because there's very little alcohol in those. This you sip because there's a lot of alcohol in this.
It's like what, 6 or 7%?
Launch Systems, are you going to renew your Y2K certification? You need to be prepared for the next millennium. No, the next problem you have to be prepared for is the 2038 issue. That is when the world of technology ends, in 2038. That's because the world runs on Linux, and Linux runs out in 2038. Anyone who understands how the time system works in Linux will understand that problem, or you can just Google the 2038 problem.
I don't even think I'm going to be around by then. I think I'll have wasted away.
Yeah, because I don't know, man. It's only 20 more years. I just hope we've got different problems then to worry about. Living in a farm. I'm going to farm with them. Yeah, 2038. Nostradamus predicted it. Yes.
Totally did.
Oh, when's the next coffee talk with? There's a good question for Tom and Brett. You actually are going to be working on a few things.
Yeah, Sean Lardo and I are going to do a couple things.
Yeah, did you message Sean?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
Sorry, Sean, if you're out there.
I
will call you tomorrow morning or message you at midnight tonight.
Yeah. So anyways, yes, I moved everything, and there's a link in the description of this video for the Business Technicalities channel. That's where all the business stuff's going. I took a little hiatus from it because of all the travel I've been doing. And also Brett, my focus is going to be Brett. He's actually going to bring on probably Wes Spencer.
We're hoping that we got to get him on there. One of the things we wanted to, I'm thinking about priorities, especially when you think about business. But this isn't about business. This is about tech. So I'll talk to him.
Yeah. Well, we're going to do the business stuff over there. And I encourage anyone who's interested in the business topics, go over to that channel. That's where you're going to find them. We're going to start doing more stuff over there. I'm going to, it's kind of me structuring the limit, how much time I can spend on that one. But they have all the business talk between him, Sean, maybe Wes Spencer, and a few other people. I want to keep gathering a lot of people who have a lot of knowledge on the business stuff. Right. So it's not just me, also sharing knowledge. Jason Slagle said he'd like to participate in some of the business stuff. I'm like,
absolutely.
Hey, yeah, put it all together, have everybody on there.
Well, and you've said it before, people that are listening to you right now want to hear about the tech stuff, right? You don't want to hear about the business crap, so to speak. You want the tech stuff. That's why breaking off another channel just makes sense.
Well, someone called us their math. The 2038 part of them is only 16 years away. That's wow. It's not because I can't math. It's because I don't know what year it is.
Wait a minute. He's right.
So
if you think about time frames between 1918 and 2022, I was born right in the middle of it. So you can tell when I was born. But I think about that it's the same time frame for me from when I was born to when it was 1918. I'm old.
Yeah. Do you know how TrueNAS has a thing where you can change network settings? You have to click confirm, change applied, or will it revert back? Yes, you have to click save, and and then it goes to a confirm, and you have to confirm it. You have a test phase and a confirm phase. That way, if you lose connectivity, it'll revert back. So yes. Does pfSense have something like that? No. pfSense does not. When you change your IP address or something in pfSense and you hit apply, it applies. It does not test. TrueNAS does a test that will revert. pfSense does not. And you're asking if you can build a low-powered machine. I'm not an expert on the lowest powered machines. Can you build them? Yes. I don't. Once you go to 10 gig RJ45, though, you are going to end up having more wattage. So yeah. Rounding to the nearest rounding to the nearest decade. Got it. Yes. That's what we were doing. Rounding to the nearest decade. That's as close as I care about the year anymore.
Sounds good.
Well, it just became one. You're like 2020, and I stopped counting years. I think, isn't that how that works?
Yeah, you get to a certain age and you stop counting.
Well, that too. Once you get to a certain age, there's like the milestones are I'm 21. I can have a beer, at least here in the United States, such our legal drinking age, which, you know, I could buy at 21. That's not always say we started drinking.
I think guys kind of tend to stop counting years in their 40s.
Yeah, you hit 40 and you're like, okay, now what?
And ladies at age 29. It's just all about it.
Yep. Statistically, that sounds right.
Yeah.
We all have 2020. Yeah, we just kind of like it stopped. It's the year stopped progressing after 2020. What else did I have in my live stream? Oh, you know, I did that video, and I have another video, and I just want to tell you about. I've already shot it. I just got to finish editing it, and it's going to be how to manage storage in Zen server.
Right.
That's a question people have a lot of confusion about, and it's basically, and we'll actually share this. I can share it on the screen here. What the video covers is how we put everything in. I can sign in apparently. All right, cool. There. Throw it in the share screen so people can see what I'm doing. Let's see. Oh, Microsoft will solve the 2030 since Windows will be built on Linux by then. Maybe. But I was setting up these storage demos to show you that you can have a machine, which we should probably log into it. We'll run Bash Top. So we got something on there. But I did a whole bunch of live storage migrations to show you how you can take a running machine. And I you know, this is something that you can do really fluidly here. So we have it on the local storage, and we're going to move it to remote storage. And we can do it while the virtual machine's running. So it's just going to take like less than a minute.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And it's going to move this to another storage. And I did a whole video of how you can walk back and forth and do these. And it's kind of incredible how all that works. How you can just take live running machines, migrate their storage. And then if you want to, once they're in a shared storage, you can move them to another system in seconds, because the storage takes longer to move, which this is a 10 gig connection. So, and not a lot of storage. So it moves relatively fast.
It's amazing what bandwidth can do.
Yeah, a little bandwidth. Let's see. Tesla OS has 2038 covered. Yeah, maybe. The question is, does Temple OS on it? There's the real one. If you look up that craziness. Any thoughts on direct connecting two servers with 10 gig without a switch, thinking of static IP and SSD? Yeah, you can do that. It doesn't really cause any issues not to have a switch. You can plug two servers in with SFPs directly to each other. With SFP, you don't need a crossover, so they will connect solidly to each other. It's a cheap way to do it if you have a TrueNAS and an XCP-ng server, but you don't want to spend money on a switch. You can just plug them into each other and set them as static IPs. But so now this VM went from local storage to, I should probably zoom this in so it looks better. There, you can see it. Now it's on this. Now we can migrate it again. So it's on Ryzen, actually show you up here. It's on the Ryzen 1 host. This is the neat part. So it's on Ryzen 1, and we have the Ryzen 2 server. Now these two servers are connected at 25 gig, and I talked about this in my demo, but if we hit OK, and we go to our task, it's going to take
11. Wow.
Yeah, under 11. It says 11 seconds, but it counts faster. And now we've migrated it. We've taken that running VM and moved it over to another server. So we go back over to the VM. Now it's on Ryzen 2. And of course, we didn't restart it or anything because it's still running Bash Top in the background. So it's still doing its thing. And you can log into it. It's kind of handy the way Zen handles all this. So you can just kind of flip things around and move them to different servers, move them to different places. If I wanted to move it to another storage or back to local, I can do that. It's very fluid the way it handles it. And even when you add new storage repositories, you can keep these machines running we've done this for migrations. Like we can add a storage to an existing pool, like a new storage server, and migrate everything off that old storage to the new storage without shutting anything down. We didn't have to reboot. We can do this during production time without shutting any servers down. That's one of the things that people don't realize is just how advanced Zen is able to operate at that level, fully, using the open source version. These are all features that are enabled. It's doesn't cost you anything extra to do it. So
that's just incredible. So it continues to run. Does VMware do that?
Mm-hmm. Well, VMware does it for a fee.
Oh, okay.
It's all licenses in VMware. Like the vMotion and everything in VMware does really well. Don't get me wrong. VMware is a solid, well-performing product, but the licensing fees have become ridiculous since Broadcom purchased them. Matter of fact, that's actually a note that was over in one of the blog posts by the people at XCP&G, the Vates team. They said, hey, the best thing ever happened to us was Broadcom bought VMware and just raked everybody over the coals for prices. They just decided to substantially the license fees. What was that one guy told us? Like it was just unreasonable. That one guy with 14 data centers.
Yeah. That was interesting.
Yeah, he just said. We actually had another person move off of VMware. They said their business model was unsustainable at the new VMware prices. That was their words. Unsustainable. They could not do it. So
it's sad that Microsoft looks like they're trying to price themselves out of the market.
Yep. Nope. I leave the default MTU. So even though it's a 25 gig network, I'm doing it all default MTU. How does it continue to run? Does it only switch to the new VM once the transfer is complete? No, it's smooth. Like the virtual machine itself is unaware that it just moved. Like it can just move between servers. You can log into it. People can be connected to it. You can SSH into it and nothing happens. It just moves from where it is to the next location. Yeah, vMotion works great, but super pricey. I have 2 hosts XCP&G source Ryzen. I cannot live migrate because I need a license for live. Nope, you do not need a license for live migration. I am proving that right here. This is completely. Let me show you the little bottom corner here. See where it says no support. This is just the open source build. 100% open source. There are no license needed. Now, if you get this from Citrix, not XCP&G, Citrix Zen server requires licenses. XCP&G does not. And if you compile the XO Community Edition, which it says right up here, XO Community, I do my demos. Now, we always tell our business clients to buy the commercial product, but because I am pandering to the home lab market who would love to play with live migration features for free in their home, please note, I have an entire video on how to build the community edition, which is all free. And all these things I'm doing, I always make sure my demos are done, unless there's I have done demos on the full paid version for a couple features that only exist in paid. And I may do another video on some paid version, but I'll always state that at the beginning, this is a paid feature. If not, I'm using the open source one that anyone can use. So you are incorrect that you need a license for that if you're using XCP&G. Bend over is the phrase you're looking for when you talk about that. Yes, yes. How does it not crash you make crash? Really simple. Magic, or actually, magic's the easy answer. The real answer is really talented people writing really good code. Yes. Yes. Proxmox can do live migrations to new storage well, but has issues with VTPM. UniFi drives can Zen live migrate VTPM. VTPM, as far as I know, will work, but that's not coming till Zen 8.3. So at the moment, they don't have the VTPM in there. UEFI devices are fine though. You can live migrate UEFI, but the VTPM part won't be until 8.3. So as soon as that comes out, I will let you know. That's going to be an interesting question, but I'm going to assume the answer is yes, it will, but I can't answer that for absolute certainty. Well, I've actually met in real life in 2016. Goosebumps is my life. Okay. Do you recommend Proxmox or XCPG for a home app? I'm partial to XCPNG, but I don't have any problem with Proxmox, but I don't know it. I don't have a reason to learn it. It doesn't have any compelling features that says that's what I want to use. And most of my consulting is done with Zen Orchestra, not Proxmox, because of scalability. Therefore, I stick with XCPNG because it's what I know. I will switch products when there's a compelling reason to do so. But there's nothing wrong. Like if you are using Proxmox and it makes you happy, I can't tell you a good reason not to use it. Like if it's not a bad product at all. Jay from Learn Linux TV uses it. I lost confidence in Proxmox when they moved from LXC to LXD to CLI is just way too powerful to be trapped in a UI. Yeah, Proxmox is interesting because it supports containers. You're not going to get good container support, but of course, in the container world, there's going to be debates. LXC versus LXD. They're not using my favorite way to handle containers, and I'm not going to entertain that argument. So it's possible to loop packets while migrating. Your connection is slow. Yeah. Well, you can do it over slow. You can live migrate over a 1 gig connection, and it'll eventually happen.
It's not going to take 11 seconds.
It's not going to take 11 seconds. Did you see in the Synology 2023 some pretty cool things coming? I am under NDA before those events, so I actually know all the stuff that was going to be. I think I knew, maybe not every detail, but I already was aware of a lot of the stuff coming. I'm supposed to have one of the servers that was listed in their event on its way to me. So I have to reply to some emails to make that happen. I mean, we talked about trying to get it beforehand. I don't know why they didn't get it to me beforehand, but whatever. I'm going to get to review some of that stuff. What's a good system to start learning XCPNG? I tried on Dell 3080 Micro, couldn't get the OS to load and install correctly. Forums didn't have the answer. The Ryzen ones I did are pretty standard build. You can go with a cheaper motherboard. The build I just did will work. We have a lab server that's built on a cheaper motherboard that works fine. So even the Ryzen stuff is reasonable on there. Sometimes some of the odd server hardware can be a challenge, but if you go with like the Dell R710s, I know they're high wattage usage, as we discussed earlier, but if you go with the R720s, those are pretty cheaply available. You can find them. Those work great with it.
Yeah.
Does X seem a good build for running distributed systems across multiple sites? Proxmox isn't. What kind of distributed systems across multiple sites? So that's kind of the better question there. But yes, it does. You can run one instance of XO and have it run multiple sites. They have a feature called XO Proxy that allows you to do that. So you can use one Zen Orchestra to manage. We have a client that has a Chicago data center and another one in another state. I forgot what other state they're in. They're based in Chicago, but their one Zen Orchestra instance runs both locations. It's kind of a cool feature to be able to do that. Does it have to be server? I was thinking old workstation. It should work on. It'll work on a lot of workstations. It's just kind of a crapshoot. If it has something in it that's odd that's just not recognized, it may not work. So there is a Zen compatibility list, and that's going to be like, we guarantee it to work on this. Ryzens are not on that list, but it works fine on Ryzen. So you're kind of gambling and guessing. That's why I did that build video, to tell people this is hardware we have tested at my office, and it's stable and it works.
And it's in production today.
So I wish I could combine Synology hardware with TrueNAS software. Would be fantastic for a low power compact TrueNAS. Yeah, it's always trade-offs. Nothing is exactly what you want to be, right? Meta to learn XCPNG and Proxmox. Nah, why not? If you nest different virtualization systems in other virtualization systems, that is a learning opportunity. Matter of fact, I know, as far as I know, you can use Proxmox, but if you want to do the opposite, because I've played with Proxmox inside of Zen, what you do is you go over to your virtual machine. You're going to go down here, and then the term you're looking for is just called nested virtualization. When you nest virtualization, you're turning on the virtual processor to say you can run more virtual processors within the virtual processors I give you. So you can keep nesting them within each other. You can run, then you can load up Zen server and load Proxmox inside a Zen server. And then if you turn on nested virtualization in Proxmox, you could load Zen server inside the Proxmox that's inside the Zen server. It's kind of like Russian nesting dolls all the way down.
I was thinking of the mirror when you look through the mirrors.
Oh yeah, you look through the mirrors. It's kind of like that, but it's like the nesting dolls. You can keep going all the way down until you run out of resources to do that. But it works, so it's a thing. It can be done. I don't know if it should be done, but it can be done. We actually, I've seen a few people. They have really old legacy stuff, and they have to run a nested version of an old VMware, so they can run a really old version of Windows, so they can run some application. So I tried nested virtualization with TrueNAS Core on Proxmox and R710. The CPU was too old, and the whole system hung. Fun times. Yeah, I mean, there's some limitations to this. At one point does Inception IP see you for that much nesting? I don't know, man. Yeah, and then the top stops spinning. Yeah, each nesting is slower than its predecessor, because as you virtualize the processors, you keep just, you're slicing up the process so many times that you're ruining any hope for performance at all. Yeah. It's just a this is Zenception. That's all you're in. You're in Zenception land doing this. That's it. Nothing good will come of this. I'm going to throw that out there. Something on the screen again. Oops. I think I want to run Dash. Oh, there we go. So something cool on the screen to look at. Let it do its thing. I love this little tool. It just looks cool because it's like it's doing stuff. Because then I can actually SSH into it. We'll go here to the network. Whoops. So SSH LTS. Oh, I should turn the caps lock off. Get my password right. Then we'll there we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 3 or 2, whatever. No, it's running something. So now we should go over here. Now that's running in the background, we'll watch it suck up all the CPU usage while it does this. Memory cache is going to give some I/O, a little bit. More things to look at. We'll let the comments roll. We're just beating up the disk performance in a second. So stats, see what it gets up to. How many IOPS? We're at 45,000 IOPS and climbing. Well, I like something on the screen, so it's doing something for people to look at and ask questions. When you built your new Ryzen servers, did you consider Alder Lake? I'm curious if the efficiency of cores and Alder Lake would provide any significant benefit between them. I don't know. And that's where I want to build out bigger testing labs. I'm taking on sponsors for my channel to fund the idea of bigger testing labs so I can afford to build an entire Alder Lake setup, run a bunch of benchmarks, then move it over to the Ryzen, run a bunch of benchmarks, and make a conclusion of which one of these would be a faster setup. I would love to do that. That, unfortunately, requires a sponsor to spend a lot of money with me and a bunch of people to pay a bunch of people to spend the time to test it, because I don't have the time to do. I don't mind doing the build and building the workflow to test it, but someone at some point needs to run all the tests and compile all the data. So yeah, I would like to do that. I don't have an answer. Wendell spends a lot of time testing. I got to reach back out to him on that, because we've been super impressed with how well everything works on the Ryzens and how fast it is. So I would like to take these same VMs and just migrate them over to an Alder Lake setup and go, how does it work?
That'd be interesting.
Yeah. Do you run your XWay VM in one of the hosts or bare metal? Oh, curious if XOA will live migrate in an HA environment or how that works. Yes and yes. I don't run on bare metal. I do run. So we go over here. It does run here on one of the hosts. This one is running on Ryzen 1. But then if we go back over to our production list, the other one This is the not community edition. This is the paid one. This runs on the Ryzen 2. So there's always 2 copies running. This one is limited in resources, but I could always increase those resources if needed. But this is like my backup one. So I don't run it on bare metal, but you can. You can run it external. You can run it on bare metal. You can build your own virtual machine to run it. Because it doesn't need to be running all the time unless you need the backups. But yeah, and it does work in HA. You can tell it. You go into the advanced options here, and you use the auto power on option. Auto power on means if there's any server failure, and when you get the server back up and running, it's going to automatically power back on. And go back over here.
Wow.
70,000 IOPS. 493, 500 megabits a second. Yeah, it's doing some testing. Oh, what else is in here? He's typing his password. Look away. Yeah. Do you run your Zenceptions on Ryzen, or is that too meta? Right. Yeah. When I VPN from home, PF sends tailscale upload file, chain-ass file. It doesn't send quickly because my upload is 300 megs actually upload. There's a lot of factors that vary. And yeah, you cause it. It maybe not. If you have too many things blocked, it may be relaying. So that's a more of a forum discussion, because there's a lot of variables involved in that question. What AC wall socket for a home lab? Managed to grab some 20 amp PDUs from a local DC, but most devices are asking for 30 amp to feed them. Yeah, that is a challenge. Wow. If you don't have a 30 amp circuit at home, you may not be able to power some of these things. I installed 30 amp. I installed a special circuit. Yeah, well, at our office, we have special circuits installed, and then at home, I went and, because I built my new studio, I went and installed a dedicated circuit for any servers. I'm way underutilizing it, but I said, hey, if you're running wire, it's not much more to run it at the 30 amp. So yeah, that's just something, it's a consideration you need to have if you want to run equipment on there. Systems, commodity hardware like a Ryzen 2600 with a bunch of RAM and MSI motherboard works with XP. Normally, you don't need for fire server space. Yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of my point. It'll run with a lot of these. I've done a couple. If you type in like Ryzen XCP&G, I have a couple consumer motherboards I've talked about that we've run it on, and it works fine. Yeah, that makes sense for that. Yeah, it's a forum post because it comes down to the rules, what you're doing, whether or not you're using tailscale, and then tailscale is going into a relay mode. There's a lot of questions because some people try to block everything, and then the only option it has is to relay. You want to make sure you're not, having a bunch of weird rules blocking things that may be causing tailscale to have that problem. Do you shut down and migrate VMs from shared storage before updating firmware on switches used for storage networks, or do you have any redundancy set up? No, in that case, even when you have redundancy, it kind of depends on what you're doing. Like if you're using multipath iSCSI and it's going through different paths, yeah, you can just update one switch, wait till it's updated, then update the other switch. If you're using switches in a configuration with LACP, yeah, you can do them one at a time. My preference, shut down the storage, eliminate the issues, find a maintenance window, and update the firmware on the switch. That's just, to me, a preferred way. Like we update switches whenever there's a maintenance window. Wherever that varies with clients. We were just talking about that, how we have to establish all the times with our clients.
We actually, Travis and I were working on getting that information of when our clients have their hours of operation. I mean, it's important to understand that you can't just do something during the middle of the day. You might shut down a business.
Yeah. So that's a big thing on there. I'll let this go 12 more minutes, and then well, maybe less. I don't know.
12 more?
Well, I've been going at it for an hour. It's live for 49 minutes here. At some point, I'm going to do something else. And I love talking to everybody, but it's it feels weird with the lights off here. Whoops.
He's been in this house a few years now, and he still doesn't know what light switch is.
Do you know? I mean, it doesn't.
I'm the same way.
I know. Like, there's still more than one switch here. Yeah. You probably covered dozens of times, but what's the definitive national ECC, yay or nay, on a budget when using commodity hardware? I love that I triggered people in my Ryzen builds. The fact that I wasn't using ECC, it made me happy to see that people complained about it. because I knew they would. Like there's trigger moments. Tom, you didn't have rails. Yeah, I know.
Wait, didn't somebody in our office complain about that too?
No one in the office complained. But no, I don't think ECC. I don't get. I'm not saying ECC is not better, but if your budget doesn't allow it, don't get it. If you're building a home lab, I don't think it's a big deal. If you're building an enterprise, you want the most reliable. You want if you want me to build you the most reliable server, I'm going to lay out this budget. We're going to put some ECC. We're going to use some really good enterprise hardware, and we're going to build it. You're talking about a home lab. So when the home lab people, or when I talk about the lab use we have for a lot of equipment, when I start breaking all that down, yeah, it's back focusing again. That really, look at that.
The light does it.
Yeah, it is the light. This camera's stupid. There, now we're in focus again.
It's your camera.
It's my camera. Well, no, Sony's are notoriously stupid. That's why this isn't my main camera usually. I have a studio camera by Canon because Canon knows how to make a camera that's not stupid. Canon charges dearly for those cameras.
It's a little hard to bring that up here.
Yeah, well, also it's a studio camera, and I don't feel like lugging it up here,
Right.
so that's why the Sony's up here. Nonetheless, yeah, it for home lab people, I don't understand in the use case we have specifically is going to be, we do turn off the lights, more voodoo IPA. One of the things that is like for us, we have a bunch of technical people that work at the office. So when we built these servers, I didn't bother putting a chassis with redundant power supplies. Why spend the money? It's not needed. If a power supply goes bad, we have 2 servers. All the VMs that are important to us that we need to keep up and running can run on any one of those servers. We have 2 for redundancy reasons, so we can migrate things. Same thing with ECC. If there's some bad memory problem and one of the servers is having problems, I will solve it by migrating everything over and running some memory tests on it and solving the problem with it. I'm not that worried about it and popping out the bad stick or whatever. The reality is, 20 years ago, Tom would have said, yeah, memory testing is a problem, especially when we used to have, if you look up the old, God, what was that called? I want to say it's called SIP memory. I remember the old memory. I think it was referred to as SIP. Yes, I used to set up SIP memory. Now, SIP memory, here's what we'll do. We'll switch this over so we can drop it on the screen here for those of you old enough to remember SIP memory.
Apparently in there.
Yeah. So when I used to use SIP memory with the pins like this, yes, memory was particularly unreliable when you had to push all the pins. You just wiggle these things in and out, and then the memory would work again. That's how you solved memory problems back then. Then we had, I have to go really racking my brain for all the different memory types. What is this site? Has it got a whole history of them? 4 generations of RAM. Here, I'll pull up a random site here and drop it in. But this is one of those things. All these different generations, you have these and these and these, and yes. Oh, man. DIL RAM, SIP RAM, SIMs, DIMMs. When the DIMMs came out, man, it was a big deal.
You didn't have little pins to break off anymore.
Memory and parity. Like the memory itself was SIM RAM. Yeah. Oh, I remember these who remembered these double chip ones were popular for a while. They only had the 2 big chips. Those are notoriously for going bad. They were really cheap at the time. But you go to memory lane of all this antiquated hardware. Memory was not very reliable. You come all the way here to modern era, memory is substantially more reliable. Computers are more reliable. Motherboards are more reliable. So, yeah.
That's something they started building better.
Yeah. So I don't worry about the memory as much as I would have a number of years ago. Maintenance window is now. If you have any issues, cost of white phones connected to the PoE switch or flashing. Yeah. And here's the thing. And someone says, well, I have clients without a maintenance window. Well, then you sell the clients on extremely redundant systems that allow for live migration to somewhere to keep everything up and running. I mean, if you have a client that's 24/7, cannot stop, some type of industry that there is no maintenance window, then you build the system out accordingly. That's what drives the spec. If you have a 9-to-5 company, why would I sell them the same thing I would sell a company that's 24/7 with no maintenance window? 9-to-5, cool. These are the things. How long can you live without your servers if something went down? Cool. We have one more spare on site. You're looking at it's risk tolerance. What's the risk tolerance to that business? And that's what you measure from a business standpoint. So, clearly you need smart voice switches, ECC home production for home lab. I mean, yeah. Mem test, great way to test memory. Probably the oldest I know is Edo. ECC fails if you had a bad stick, detects correct spontaneous errors, cosmic rays and power fluctuations. Yeah. People get really worried about those, and they're less finishy than people think. I remember Simmery's at least 10th or 30th birthday. Yeah. What was the one before SIP? There's actually this other one that's a series of what was that one called? Steve Gibson actually has some of it. It's a wire. What was that called? It's from the 70s. It's a really old stuff. If you care about the data storing, processing, spring-free CC, if you don't care and it's easy to replace CC, entirely optional. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Plus, at least with TrueDance, it runs checksums and all the block commits, error memory up. Yeah. There's a myth, and I've defeated that myth many times, and so has lots of people in blog posts, that you need ECC for ZFS. You do not need ECC for ZFS. Fight me in the comments. There's plenty of reading you can do of people arguing about it. Core memory. That's the one. That's the one I was thinking of. So let's pull up what core memory looks like. Core memory is neat looking. This was some of the earliest days was how you held things together with core memory.
Holy cow.
So yeah, someone has a page on it. Some computing history here. Magnetic cores, outputs. It's kind of cool. I mean, memory is still in some ways designed like this. It's just done at the circuit level. It's just wild looking how these old core memory systems look. It was neat though. It was really cool how it all, I don't know, core. Oh, I should probably put that on the screen. There we go.
Yeah, you and I were looking at it.
It was cool looking.
Oh my gosh.
Are your TrueNAS and XO instances on separate physical boxes? Yes. TrueNAS is I'm running in bare metal. Quantum entanglement correcting destructive memory. If anything goes wrong, qubits will clash and antimatter will explode. Yes. Bubble memory. Really old ZFS corrupt your entire file system if it wrote checksums to disk using non-ECC memory. Not sure how they solved it. ZFS is an atomic system. Look, the search phrase that will help you is ZFS atomic writes. The atomic write process is how the cow system works. I have a video on that called ZFS is a cow, but if you just want to read it, look at Clara Systems, and they're going to have an entire archive of great data on exactly what an atomic file system is. You can also find several research papers written about it, and you'll understand how it doesn't need ECC to do what it does. It would be a long explainer, and people with PhDs that write theses on this stuff are better at explaining it than Tom. It's also really complicated. Mortal Kombat music, yes.
You'd be able to put it to understanding, though.
You're like an encyclopedia of techie stuff. Yes. So what? Being Brett working with me knows this.
Yeah, he pulls stuff out of his head. I can't imagine.
I've been doing this for my first tech job was in 1995. So now that I've been doing this for what does that make it? 27 years.
Is the math right out there, everyone?
I mean,
that's a long time. 95 to that's
yeah. So basically, I love all the computer history stuff. I still to this day study it. You'll find me. People ask like, what tech people do you watch on YouTube, Tom? I'm like, oh, anyone who does vintage stuff. The vintage stuff fascinates me because I still have gaps in my memory for just things I wasn't aware of then. So I'm always like, I love all the tech history, but then I'm also in the tech current as my day job. So yes, I like to memorize and learn and all the history stuff and discuss it and talk about it. So
I think that's how you learn. It gives you a base of where you're moving, where they've moved from. crazy vintage. I think about that motorcycle out there.
Oh yeah. I do have a vintage motorcycle. I'm fascinated by that technology too.
Yes, you are.
Tangential to ECC memory. What are your thoughts on disk power loss protection? If you watch my ZFS as a cow video as well, if you're asking about it in relationship to how ZFS handles atomic writes and what a atomic write means, then you will understand why data integrity and why you can only or statistically are likely to, at the perfect moment, you can lose up to 5 seconds of data, but no more. So it's not that there's a corruption problem, it's the way the atomic write system works. Every 5 seconds it commits. So the power loss could occur at one of those 5 second intervals. At the high end of it, it won't complete the write, but you'll have a complete and copy of your data as it was up to 5 seconds before that happened. You rather spend more money on ECC? Yes. I'd rather spend more money on more memory than ECC memory. Good idea. When Merkle Tree, head of the Merkle Tree had a bad checksum. Look at the way ZFS is built to avoid those problems. Just could you ever work with fiber channel? Not often. How does Citrix licensing compare to XCP-NG? If I purchase XCP support packages, roast and XOA, it's much better. Go with XCP-NG. Don't even bother with Citrix. I don't have any use case where I would say to go with the Citrix licensing. Unless, I guess there's one exception. If you're using any of the Citrix published apps, like you're using other Citrix products and they bundle in the licensing, but just for virtualization, XCP-NG's licensing is, well, it's free because it's open source and you can buy support. Looking forward to Isolinear. Yep. LGR, yes. Yes, Lawrence System watches LGR. Yes, I do. LGR is among them. So you must, Dave Plummer. If you go on Reddit, you'll find me and Dave having a discussion about ZFS. So yes, so me and Dave from Dave's Garage have talked because I told him I was a fan of his channel. He replied that he likes my channel and he learned ZFS from me. So and Dave is awesome. He has amazing stories. I imagine a lot of people here follow Dave's Garage.
We're going to get you two on the same camera.
Yeah. Dave's really cool. He was a years and years developer at Microsoft, so he reveals all the Microsoft stories. Interesting fact, the best way to learn just typically is advanced from the beginning, bit by bit. Sure. I like it bit by bit. What security concerns do you have running pfSense, any VM as a home public-facing router? I fear not that there will be a flaw in that setup, but that someone will goof it up as a home labber and expose things. So they'll accidentally expose the wrong ports and open up things to the public. So that's usually my fear. It's not that I think it can't be done or that I can't do it. I think people are more likely to goof it up. 11 more minutes. I'm a glutton for punishment. All right, I'm going to wind it down now. Yeah, of course, proper resilient mirrored RAID Z pool can recover from that kind of sufficiently small number of SSDs. Yeah. I mean, there's also, it doesn't mean that ZFS is foolproof because there's always greater fools. There's people who build their ZFSs really, really wide and end up with a write hole. So if you build your VDEV too wide, you can create a write hole problem. Google that and you will find a whole write-up on it of people who created write holes and they can't rebuild arrays because there are ways you can destroy it. You can still take a relatively advanced ZFS system and figure out a way to screw it all up. So, all right, I'm going to wind this down. Me and Brett are going to BS probably, and it's time to crack open another beer. See, I'm about a 1 beer an hour, but when you're drinking, when you're drinking IPAs, 1 beer an hour is fine. And by the way, I'm friends with Jeff from Craft Computing, of why I have his shirt on. It's actually funny to me because when he does his videos, he drinks a beer and people think he drinks a lot of beers. Actually, because he drinks a beer with the video, that's the only beer he drinks too. So it kind of makes me laugh talking to him about it.
Yeah, usually it's whiskey.
I'm a whiskey person. That's not 1 beer, little whiskey, watch my TV that is allegedly too high.
That's great.
Yes. Yeah, we always underestimate the fools. We always underestimate the fools. So, all right, thanks for joining, and see you next time. Woohoo.